Hi, this is Rachel from Ray K Books, and today I'm going to be interviewing Megan Whitmer. Hello, Megan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm lovely. Just happy to be on the internet.
Wait, you cut out a little bit. What did you say?
Well, I just said I'm happy to be on the internet, as always.
Yes.
It's okay.
Okay, so we're having a little technical difficulties because you're kind of like going in and out, and my internet totally quit out. So to everyone who's watching, if something goes down, we're really sorry because technical difficulties are happening. But we're here for you. So we're gonna get started. It's okay. Okay, so we are promoting Between, which is your
Mhm.
debut novel, which is really exciting. And so, can you please tell everybody your a synopsis of Between?
Between is about Charlie, who is 17 years old, and she finds out that she's protected by this group called the Fellowship. And the Fellowship is in charge of making sure that we don't know that things like fairies and mermaids and other mythical creatures exist. So I usually call it Men in Black, but for mythical creatures. So she finds out she's protected by this group, and she doesn't know why.
So what kind of mythical creatures are there?
Well, the whole idea is that they hide everything from us. So I used a lot of uh, different urban legends and creatures from like all over the world. So some of that you've heard of will be like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and things like that. And then others I made up to show like examples of the Fellowship doing a really good job of keeping them a secret, whereas others they haven't done as good of a job of keeping those a secret. Like Bigfoot, we still see Bigfoot every now and then. Um, so really, it's supposed to cover everything you can think of.
Awesome. I think that's really exciting that you just create your own character, not characters, create your own beings. So was that very difficult, or did that kind of just flow?
The hardest part, I would sit here at my desk and I would try to like make up words because I didn't want them to already be words that actually existed. So I would just like sit here and like throw sounds together, and then I'd Google it to see like, is this a thing that exists? Is this a word already? So I think that was the hardest part was trying to just come up with the names of things. Giving them characteristics and powers and all of that, you could throw together whatever, but thinking of a word was hard.
Yeah, thinking of the names. So did your editor help you with that at all, or was that 100% you?
I think all of that was done before they bought the book. Yeah, I can't think of anything that we named afterwards. So all the names and stuff
Nice.
were in place before. Yeah. So it was a lot of random me making noises, sounding like a crazy person.
Okay, so now we're going to do some Twitter questions. There's one from Hey, and this person asks, how do you feel about the Macarena?
She asked this earlier today.
Is there a backstory to that?
No, this is just Hey being hilarious because that's who she is. I really enjoy the Macarena. I think it's a great, great dance.
Very nice. I think so too. Learned it in the third grade. It
I mean,
was
everybody can do it.
magical, magical dance.
Yeah,
Uh,
it brings
so we
people together.
have some questions. Right. So we have some questions from, I think 4 questions now from one person. And the first one is, can you tell us a little bit about your writing process? Like, are you a plotter, and how is it to write Between?
With Between, I wasn't a plotter at all, and I wrote it completely out of order. Um, it was basically a matter of me like writing and being like, I wonder what would happen if she did this, and I would write that for a few days, and then that wouldn't work, and I'd have to delete like 5 pages, and I'd go back and write some more. And so it took me a really long time to write Between. Um, but with book two, which is between a trilogy, or the first of a trilogy, I've had to obviously, because it's a trilogy, so I had to outline and make sure that things are going to work for the next two books. And that's been a lot harder for me for some reason. I think I'm better when I don't really know what I'm doing. It's harder for me to outline.
Do you think that some authors say that the characters write themselves? Does that happen to you?
Yes. Every time I got stuck on between, and my editor, she said this. She's like, usually when you get stuck like this, it's because you're trying to make something happen that the characters don't want to happen, which sounds a little crazy, but it's true. I mean, I think, and I mean, when I wrote Between, where I didn't outline it, there were all kinds of things that just happened. And even while I'm writing it, I would be like, oh, I did not see that coming, which is nuts, but that's how it worked.
So we have another Twitter question from the same person, and she asks, for some reason I keep saying axe. I don't know why. How did you? I do hear an accent.
Mm-hmm.
So is that where you're from, Kentucky?
Mm-hmm.
Were you born, grew up, Southern?
Yes, I've lived here my whole life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the question is, can you tell us? I already asked that question. Let's do another one.
Okay.
You already said this. Is Between a standalone or a series? So you said it's a trilogy.
It's a
okay,
trilogy.
so later we're gonna talk about the second one, but first I want to get through Twitter questions.
Okay.
So the next one is, how did you get inspired for Between?
I have always had this like fascination with questions I won't know the answer to, like, does Bigfoot really exist? Like, why do people keep having Bigfoot sightings when everything in the world says it can't be real? What's an Area 51? Like all these like conspiracy theory type things. And then also I've always wondered why certain legends, like the Loch Ness Monster and mermaids, persist over time. So I think I kind of, over the years, since high school I've probably wondered about these things. And over the years I kind of matched them up into like mythical creatures being some kind of government secret, like that, not that Fellowship is the government, but just that was the main thing, I guess, just thinking there might be a group that keeps us from knowing these things because they don't think humans could handle it. So that was in my head for years, and then randomly one day I just started thinking about this girl who became Charlie and how she would be tied to the Fellowship and what that would be like.
So, okay, I have a question for you, because you said you did a lot of research, and then you put Loch Ness Monster in that sentence. So how do you, research Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot? Like, what did you have to do, and what did you learn?
I Googled a lot. And because these things have always interested me, though, I've always, if there's a news story that pops up about any kind of mythical creature, like that whole mermaids thing that I think it was the Discovery Channel maybe did a couple years ago, where they acted like they had discovered mermaids, and any Bigfoot story and that Finding Bigfoot TV show, like all that stuff, I totally watch it because it just fascinates me. Although Finding Bigfoot is just the most ridiculous TV show ever. But so it was really fun for me to look at all this stuff. And it was fun, too, to look at other cultures around the world and to their urban legends, because there are some really weird ones out there, and some that I didn't use at all, and some that you just wonder
some
why
of them?
they.
So, can you give us the weirdest one? Something that blew your mind.
There was one, and I'm trying to think. I can't think of what it was called, but he was like a donkey, and he was like a spirit. And if you made him angry, he would turn around and blow poop at you. It was really acidic poop. It was really weird. There's just no reason for it. And then there was another one. I think this one was in Scotland. It was Scottish, possibly. And it was like a horse. A cow that would come up out of ponds and bring milk to your door. And that was it. I was just like, but why? And I never could figure out what was the purpose of that one.
It sounds like a lot of fun, all this research and all these like weird
Oh, I can't hear
stories.
you.
Um, oh, sorry, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I think we're just a little bit of a delay, but it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's okay. There's yeah, the internet connection. Okay. What did I even say? Hold on. Oh, I said that that the research seems really fun and that it would be very enjoyable to do. But anyway, we'll go on to the next question, and that is, how was your publishing process, or what was your publishing process and experience?
Well, I'm with Spencer Hill Press, and when they bought Between, it was a standalone book, and they asked, or my editor Danielle asked if I would be interested in turning it into a trilogy, and I said yes. Um, and so we had to take that book that I gave them, that was a standalone thing, and turn it into book one of a trilogy, and that was a lot of work. I mean, it was so much rewriting because I had to make so many more, I guess, add more subplots in. And like in the original book, there are characters that die, that doesn't happen now, things like that. There were just big huge changes I had to make so I'd have somewhere to go in the next two books. So for the first like 6 months, 7 months of 2013, it was pretty intense with the rewriting until we could get that right. But then after that,
When you were writing the book, oh, go for it.
oh, I was just going to say after we finished the plot, all the rest of it was really easy, the copy edits and things like that. So
Okay, when you were writing the first draft, like when it was done and it was a standalone, did you ever think of what would happen to the characters next, or was it just a standalone and that was what's hard?
I thought of what would happen with the characters next, in case there would ever be an opportunity to write the next book. Um, but I wrote it the main thing I guess would have been that I made some of the creatures, well, some of the characters who died in the standalone don't die anymore, in at least not in book one, um, and that changed a whole lot, I guess. So I would have them around for more books, and kind of have to make more dramatic things happen since I had to replace those deaths.
So another Twitter question is, who is your favorite character to write and why?
I really like. Oh, that's so hard. I don't think I can answer just one, so I'm not going to. So I'm going to say Charlie because I think she's hilarious. I really like the way she thinks, and the jokes that she makes are great. But then I really like Alexander, who is he's like there were four founders of the fellowship, and he's the last one left, and so he's old and he's kind of not very nice to be around. He's not super charming and friendly, and everybody who's read it always tells me that they can't get a read on Alexander. They can't tell if he's like a good guy or a bad guy or whatever. And I'm like, I don't either, actually. I'm not entirely sure. So I really like writing him because it's just fun to try to figure out exactly what he's up to.
So another question, oh, by the same person, I guess it's like the second part of the question I just asked, is how, oh, I just lost the question. I'm so sorry. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, there it is. Okay, who was the easiest and the most difficult to write?
Okay, so one easy one and one difficult one.
Correct.
The easiest was um, probably Charlie also, because I always tell people I'm not sure if the longer I worked on, because I worked on Between for a long time, and I was like, either I became more like Charlie or Charlie became more like me. I'm not sure, but her voice and the jokes that she makes, like we share a similar sense of humor and that type of thing. So she was pretty easy. Like usually I could, I knew her really well. Um, The most difficult would be Clara. She's she calls herself the Empress of the Fairies, even though it's not really a thing. She just does that because she's full of herself. Um, but she's sort of snotty and disagreeable, and it's kind of hard to get a handle on exactly why sometimes. Like, why is she so bitchy?
Right. So the kind of meaner characters are more difficult to write.
Well, it's so for me. I guess I don't want them just to be like a bad guy. Like, there has to be a reason why she's developed this hateful kind of attitude. And even if it doesn't make it into the book, which I think for Claire it eventually will, but it's just, I guess, knowing exactly why she's hateful kind of helps you give context and explain her reactions a little bit better, you know? So it was hard for me to figure out
So we
what.
haven't. Right, right. Kind of like her reasoning for her hatred. I get that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a break from Twitter questions. There's a lot more, so we'll get to the other Twitter questions, I promise. But right now we are going to play a Would You Rather game. And if people who are watching don't know what Would You Rather is, I would ask Megan a question like, would you rather eat apples or oranges for the rest of your life? And then she'd have to say either apples or oranges. But this is literature edition. So the first one is, would you rather fight next to Hermione from Harry Potter or Katniss from the Hunger Games?
We're gonna go with Hermione.
All right. Would you rather read a book that is written poorly but has an excellent story, or read one with weak content but is written well?
I'd rather read one that's written poorly with an excellent story.
Who would you rather have as a child, Harry Potter or Hermione Granger?
Hermione Granger.
Would you rather write novels where all the characters are women or all men for the rest of your writing career?
I think writing with all men would be fun. I don't know if I'd be very good at it, though.
Oh, that's fine. It's a learning experience. You'll be good in no time.
I'm doing it for the rest of my life. So,
Would you?
yeah.
It's very true. Where am I? There I am. Would you rather well, you're kind of new to this, so this is kind of like in the future, maybe. Would you rather only write your books in trilogies or standalones? So technically you haven't even
Standalone.
finished a trilogy yet.
I don't care. I already know.
Standalone?
I'll stand alone forever.
Okay. So yeah, this trilogy is it for you?
Well, uh, I say that now. When it's done, who knows by the time I actually come up with another story. But for now, I don't ever want to do a trilogy again.
It's very difficult. Um, would you rather write a book without using conjunctions or have every sentence of your book begin with one?
Without conjunctions. That would take my word count up so much.
Would you rather write a plot twist you hated or write a character you hated?
A character. I don't think I can
Would you
handle a plot
rather
twist I hated.
would you rather write a super successful movie? No. I read that wrong. Would you rather a super successful movie be made from one of your books or a long-lasting television series?
A long-lasting television series.
And then the last one is, would you rather critics rip your book apart publicly or never talk about it at all?
Oh my gosh, that's the worst question. I mean, it's a great question. It's so hard to. I think I would rather them rip it apart publicly, because then people might still want to read it then.
It's very true, and it gets a lot of talk at least, right?
I mean, it
Um,
worked for,
so
50 Shades.
that's so true. It did. So it's publicity. Bad publicity, but it's
Yeah,
publicity.
yeah.
So, okay, that was the Would You Rather game. So thank you very much for playing. Yay!
Yeah.
But I would like to actually bounce off the last question about critics. Do you read bad reviews of your books?
Yes. I can't help but read the reviews. I don't
Yes.
have a whole lot, so I have to read them.
All right, so we're going to go back to Twitter questions. And we're going to start with Valerie. And Valerie asks, what is your favorite type of scene, character, or setting to write?
Everybody who knows me knows this, that I love the kissing scenes where they almost kiss and then they get interrupted for some reason. Like, I love that. The near miss kiss is what we call it. My favorite.
And then KS is her name, says, Megan, you are so pretty. I love your hair and your face and you.
I love her too, Kennedy.
Yeah,
I know.
okay, Kennedy.
Yeah, as soon as you say that.
And then the next one is from Darcy, and she asks, how did you decide between which mythical creatures to feature in between and which to only mention, like Bigfoot?
Um, I would make a list of the characters that I found interesting when I was researching. I had a really long list, and then it would depend on what the legend was about those creatures and if I could fit it into the plot. And if there was a way that whatever that creature was about or whatever the story that went along with that creature, if I could work that into the plot, then I would use it. And if not, then I would just mention them, like Charlie might see them at a meeting or something like that. And she would notice them as she passed by. But as far as making them a character, it had to be something that would fit with the story.
So actually, I want to go back because I just thought of a question. Remember you said about the near kiss and misses? So does that mean that you wrote that in this book? Are you going to write it in every book? Is this going to be a thing with you?
It's gonna be a really frustrating thing with me. My friend Dahlia hates it. Um, there are, I think, two or three near miss kisses in between, but there'll be more actual kissing in the next book. But there will have to be at least one because I really enjoy them.
All right, so we have two more questions on Twitter.
Okay.
Two more. And then I'm going to ask a few that I personally have.
Okay.
And the first one is, the biggest question I have is, when will you dye your hair back to blue?
Never. It will never be blue again. Blue is the hardest color to get out of my hair. I don't ever, ever, ever want to do it again.
Are you thinking of doing another color, not blue, but like purple or pink
I've had
or
purple.
green?
I've never done green. I've had purple and I liked it, and I've had like bright red that faded to pink, and I think that's actually been my favorite. But I just now, like in the last 3 weeks, got all the color out of my hair, so I'm trying to not do any crazy colors for a while. So Twitter needs to stop encouraging that.
Is that something you get a lot?
Yeah, well, and I really like doing it, but I'm like, I just spent all this money to get that dye out. Like, I need to be a grown up here. But it's hard.
Yeah, for now though, you might want to dye it again. So the last Twitter question I can see is, oh wait, no, there's one more. I just refreshed. Sorry. What is a typical comment from one of your critique partners?
A typical comment. Usually they'll say more. They want more description and more, well, basically just more description. They want to know like what's going on around Charlie, that type of thing. Because I'm really bad about getting like tunnel vision and just focusing on Charlie without thinking of what's the other person doing. So usually it's more.
And then Kennedy, said her name's Kennedy, asked a few questions, and one of them is, are you excited for your birthday? Birthday coming up.
I'm always excited for my birthday. Yes, it's on Halloween. So I'm always happy about my birthday.
And then she says, how much do you love Halloween on a scale of 1 to 10?
30.
You broke the meter. That's how much you love it.
That's it. Yeah, it's my
All
favorite.
right. So, for those of you who are watching, if you'd like to ask a question, go onto Twitter and use the hashtag MeganLiveChat, and I will ask her your question, and it will be answered, and it will be fun. But right now, we're gonna go with my questions. And the first one I want to do is teams. So, are you Team Edward or Jacob?
Edward, I think. Yeah.
Are you Team Gail or PETA?
PETA.
And so, what is your favorite book turn movie? It can be anything.
Oh my gosh. I'm looking at my books over here. Um, I I really thought that the Hunger Games was really well done. Like I thought they did a great job of sticking to the book and things like that. So I was really happy with it. Um, my mind's going blank on anything else, so we'll just give that answer because I'm like I know there are other books and movies that I've loved, but that's all I can think of right now.
If you could have been the original author of any book, what would it have been and why?
Oh my gosh. The original author of any book. I know this is gonna sound terrible, but I really, really wish that I had thought of Twilight. And not because it's Twilight and it's like so much money or whatever, but I just think I sounds so terrible, but like, I think Bella could have been so much better. Like she could have been so much better. Um, just she could have been so much funnier, and she was in such a cool situation, and I don't know. But I love what she did with the whole forbidden thing and the Edward and Jacob. Like it was good, and usually love triangles drive me crazy, but that one I enjoyed. But I just think she could have been so much funnier, and then the book would have been so much better. That sounds terrible to say. I think I would have written a better Twilight. I should stop talking.
You're doing okay. That's fine. Twilight's a really good pick. So you said something that intrigues me, and that has to do with love triangles. So you said you're a love triangle person. So what is your favorite love triangle book?
My absolute, I don't know. Well, no, I said typically love triangles kind of drive me crazy, only because I'm not sure that they happen so often in real life.
Oh,
So,
I thought you meant like good crazy, not bad
oh
crazy.
no, yeah, no, I don't. I'm like, how often does that actually happen where there's really a love triangle? Like, not very often, especially with teenagers, because teenagers all talk. It's high school. You can't pull off a love triangle. Um, so I don't know. That would be really hard to pick.
All right, so we're nearing the end of our chat, and I
Okay.
totally forgot to talk about this one topic, and that
Okay.
is the next book that's coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. What can I tell you about it? It continues, obviously, between. It's the second book of the trilogy. It's been not a lot of fun to write so far, only because, usually in a trilogy, everybody hates book two. And so it's terrifying to write a book two because it's like you're going into it knowing like people are going to hate it because everybody always hates the middle book. And so I'm trying really hard to make sure that it doesn't read like a middle book. I want it to be like its own book with its own story arc and things like that, and not be obviously like just a book that connects one and three. Um, but it'll have a lot more kissing in it for people who've read between, and in
Ooh.
between, Charlie generally sticks around Aloria, which is like the capital city of the mystical realm, and in the between itself, which is this realm between the mortal and mystical realms. So the between is between the realms. Um, she typically is in those two places, and in the next book, she ventures out into a lot more areas of the mystical realm. and you get to see a lot more of it and a lot more creatures and things like that.
Is it more creatures? Oh my gosh, creatures that creatures like new creatures that you've thought up?
There may be one or two more that I think up. There's going to be a couple, like I mention ogres in between, but I mean, just in passing. And in the next book, one of the new main characters is an ogre, and things like that. So I kind of bring up some that I may have mentioned before and just bring them up closer to the forefront of the story.
So when your trilogy is done, what's next for you? Do you have another plot in your head that you're going to start writing, or are you going to take a break? What's going to happen?
I'd like to write, I have a YA contemporary in my head, love story, that may end up being a love triangle. I keep trying to not make that happen, but we'll see, even though I'm not a big fan of love triangles. But it is the way it's working out in my head. And then I'm also working right now on a novella that tells the story of the beginning of the Fellowship, of like what went down. You learn a little bit about Charlie's family history, and so this novella would sort of delve into that a little bit more, introduce you to her parents and things like that.
So when is the novella and when is the second book coming out? Do you have a release date?
Do not have a release date. The second book will be out next year, but I don't know when. And I have no idea on the novella because it's not finished. I'm still messing around with it.
How long does it take you to finish a book?
A lifetime. It takes me forever. I'm the slowest writer ever. Between took me 4 months to write, but then after I got the book deal and the edit letter, we worked on it obviously for like probably 10 more months by the time we finished everything on it. And I've been working on the second book all year, although I wouldn't say I work on it, I haven't worked on it every day for a year. But it just, once I get the plot completely ironed out, it's pretty simple, obviously. But the plot itself is proving pretty difficult, so at least.
All right, so now we're going to talk about a wonderful thing, and that's called a giveaway. So Megan here is kind enough to give away her book, a signed book, Between, and this is for USA and Canada only. And it ends next week, next Monday, which is the 6th of October. And so what you have to do in order to win is this live chat is going to become a YouTube video. And when it becomes a YouTube video, I would like you to comment anything you want, plus a way to contact you, because YouTube messages don't work and people don't get the message and they don't win, and it's a lose situation. So put any way to contact you. And then the second thing, and this is optional but extra points, is to follow Megan on Twitter. And if you follow her on Twitter, please put your username in the comments so I can verify your entry. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it. So thank you so much, Megan. I had a great time talking to you. It was awesome getting to know you and to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on here. I loved it.
Yes, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.